gentlemen, to the United Armenian Council for the commemoration of the Armenian Genocide, Pariegak, may I ask that you please rise for the presentation of the colors by the Scouts of the Armenian General Athletic Union, Hominet Men. And after the Scouts' presentation of colors, please remain standing as I am privileged and honored to invite to the stage United Armenian Council co-chair David Samuelyan to grace us as he sings the national anthems of the United States of America and the Republic of Armenia. He will be accompanied by Aram Lepedjian. Thank you.
Scoutner Patrast, Joshagagard, Kailaraj, on! Patvi ar
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight over the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say the spangled banner, banner yet wave, o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave. Մեր հայրենիք ազատանգա, որ ապրել են դարեցար, յուր որդիկը արտկանչում են ազատանգա Հայաստան, յուր որդիկը արտկանչում են ազատանգա Հայաստան, նայիր նրան երեկույնով, նվիրական մեր Jan doch bok ich geschnamutem doch mich wanza hayastan doch bok ich geschnamutem doch mich wanza hayastan Amen ein der Mahmie Mart mi ankam bidemerni Baitierani vor Jurasekin Azadutjan gezovi Baitierani vor Jurasekin Azadutjan gezovi
Drošākagard, head darts. Skautner, zach darts. Kailaraj, on.
Thank you. Please be seated. Yes, thank you. Please be seated. Once again, welcome, ladies and gentlemen, Reverend clergy, to this, the 100th commemoration of the Armenian Genocide here at the Armenian Martyrs Monument in Montebello, California. I have some prepared remarks, but before I begin my prepared remarks, I would like to publicly acknowledge the co-chairs of the Armenian Genocide Centennial Committee that are here today, Garo Ghazarian and Talin Yakubian, for the incredible work they did to have the March for Justice yesterday. Over 130,000 Armenian and members of our community were there. It was the second largest march in the history of the city of Los Angeles. Vartskernit Gadar, Garo and Talin, and all of the members of the Armenian Genocide Centennial Committee and the March for Justice Subcommittee. 47 years ago, visionary leaders of our community, some of whom are gathered here today, came together to build this magnificent monument, to build this structure that pays proper homage to those of our flesh and blood and men of all nations who have fallen victim to crimes against humanity. As you participate in today's memorial services, take a good look at this monument. Look at it as it takes your eyes soaring to the heavens above, the final resting place of our 1,500,000 canonized saints, the martyrs of the Armenian Genocide. Yes, this solemn memorial stands as a symbol for all that we lost, but that is not all it represents. This beacon of remembrance screams to us the stark truth that what happened to our families 100 years ago can happen again. As the Armenian nation progresses towards the 2nd century of our resurrection following the genocide, let us renew our vow that we shall never let such a fate as the genocide befell our people again. As we drive by this monument on our daily journeys, let us remember that the same forces of evil that led to the destruction of our homeland in Western Armenia, that led to the massacres and the pogroms in Baku and Sumgait, are still at play today. Oh, I know, there are those among us that think that things have changed, right? The Turkish leadership is different now. They wouldn't do that again. Ladies and gentlemen, is that the history we have lived to know? Of course not. It is just the opposite, is it not? Just take a look at what is going on right now. In whose direction are the tanks and missiles of Azerbaijan pointed today? Upon which country has the Turkish state imposed an illegal blockade for over the past 20 years designed to economically strangle Armenia? In 2007, when our beloved Hrant Dink took a bullet to the head in broad daylight in the streets of Istanbul, why was the killer showcased by the state police as a national hero behind the backdrop of the Turkish flag? In 2012, when an axe-murdering Azeri decapitated an Armenian soldier, Gurgen Markaryan, during NATO exercises, why did Azerbaijan pardon this murderer, elevate his rank, and tout him as a national hero as well? Why, in the last 4 years, has Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan twice threatened to deport its Armenian population from Turkey? And why has Erdogan continued to support ISIL, a terrorist organization who has openly committed attacks against Armenian communities of the Middle East? Why? Because that same hatred, that same destructive intent, which led to genocide and which saw Armenians and other Christian citizens of the Ottoman Empire as subhuman, as expendable, is alive and well today in Turkish and Azeri nationalist parties. As we mourn and remember our 1.5 million martyrs, as we demand justice for our just reparations, let us renew our vow today and going forward that we will not depend on other nations to protect our interests ever again. Our interests are not their interests. Let us praise and dedicate our support to our brave Armenian compatriots who, in the spirit of Sasun, Van, Musaler, and Zeytun, at this very moment are defending the Armenian nation against those who are still set on our collective destruction. Let us reject efforts at division among ourselves, and every day, as we so magnificently did yesterday at the March for Justice, as we are all doing right now, unequivocally heed the words of our great Armenian poet, Yerishe Charens. O Armenian people, your only salvation is the power of your collective unity. The truth of Charens' words rang loudly yesterday. They ring loudly right here today. Let us remember from this day forward that never again is all up to us. Thank you. Now, I would like to ask co-chair of the United Armenian Council of Los Angeles, John Kosakyan, and Ms. Jackie Tomasian, the representative of the Nor Chuga Armenian Compatriotic Union, to the UACLA to come up and give their welcoming remarks. Thank you.
Good afternoon. Truth is a pesky thing. It is stubborn. It does not change its mind in the face of any lie, threat, or denial. Falsehood finds it its very uncooperative. It cannot be dismissed. Some find truths very aggravating, while for others, truth gives solace in times of grief. It cannot be seduced to deviate from its honorable path. It cannot be led, of course. Truth is eternal. It is strong and brave, and it always prevails. What began as a death march has now become the march for the saints. 1.5 million saints 100 years, is not a destination, but a milestone marked by the million who march around the globe. A trek that will lead us to the promise of recognition for the saints and for living. For the past 2 decades, the Armenian community in Los Angeles has observed the Armenian genocide under a united leadership. United Armenian Council, a body that includes representatives of leading Armenian organizations. The participants of this body have been from the main national political parties, the religious denominations, and the representative of the most active cultural organization of the Armenian community. Our goal is one, to have the United States accept the Armenian genocide. Our grand vision is to have all nations, especially Turkey, recognize the Armenian genocide. On behalf of UACLA, I would like to welcome you to this centenary.
Բարեշնոր սրբազան հայրեր, ոգեշնոր հայրեր, գլխավոր հյուպատոս, ուսակցություններու, բարեսիրական, մշակութային, մարզական և հայրենակցական միություններու ներկայացուցիչներ, սիրելի սգագիր և բանջարդեր հայ ժողովուրդ, այսօրվա թուրությամբ արդեն իսկ լրացած է ցեղասպանության 100-րդ տարին, այս 100 տարիներու ընթացքին մահվան դատապարտված հայ ազգը գրծավ հարություն առնել և վերականգնել իր անկախ պետականությունը իր պատմական հայրենիքի մեկ շերտին վրա, հառաջացնել փառքավաճ համայնքներ աշխարհի կարևորագույն քաղաքներում մեջ, ազատագրել հայկական Արցախը օտարի լուծեն և ապահովել ցեղասպանության ճանաչումը միջազգային ընտանիքի մոտ։ Այսպես, վերջին 20 տարիներուն ցեղասպանության մասին լայն քարոզչության տարածումը և երկիրներու քաղաքական վերնախավի հաստատումը ցեղասպանության իրողության դարձավ հայ ժողովրդի քաղաքական օրակարգի կարևորագույն կետը։ Վերջին տասնամյակներուն իրար հաջորդեցին բազմաթիվ երկիրներու կողմի հայոց ցեղասպանության ճանաչման հայտարարություններ, յուրաքանչյուր անգամին տեղի տալով թուրքական կողմի ահավոր զայրույթին ու քաղաքական ու դիվանագիտական հակադարձության։ Հավանաբար, այս ճանաչումներու շարքին կարևորագույնները եղան Ուրուգվայի խորհրդարանի որոշումը իբրև առաջին հիմնական ճանաչումները մեկը և քանի օր առաջ Կաթողիկե աշխարհի փաստագույն հեղինակության Հռոմի Բաբի ցեղասպանության բարի օգտագործումը, որուն հաջորդեց Գերմանիայի և Ավստրիայի ճանաչումները։ Համահայկական առումով աննախընթաց իրադարձություն եղավ նահատակներու սրբատասումը ամենայն հայոց և գլիգոզույգ կաթողիկոսներուն կողմէ։ Մեր գաղութերներս տեղի ունեցան երկու հիմնական իրադարձություններ։ Առաջինը ամերիկյան կաթողիկե համայնքի կողմէ կազմակերպված կրոնական արարողություններ բազմաթիվ օտար քաղաքական դեմքերու ներկայությամբ, իսկ երկրորդը Հոլիվուդեն դեպի թուրքական հյուպատոսարան երկարող ավելի քան 100,000-նոց քայլարշավը։ Շուրջ 400-ին 450,000 հաշվող համայնքի յուրաքանչյուր 4 հոգիի մեկը մասնակցեցավ այս ցույցին քայլարշավին։ Այս այն փաստն է, որ այս համայնքը դերն է իր տադին և կխոստանա պատասխանատվության մեջ բաժինը ստանձնել հայտարարի աշխատանքներու իրականացման գծով։ Ահավասիկ իր պատասխանատվության գիտակից այս համայնքը 100-ամյակի իր աշխատանքներու մեջ Մոնտեբելոյի հայոց հուշարձանի մոտ համակարգային տարողությամբ կկատարի այս տարվա ցեղասպանության հիշատակման եզրափակիչ միջոցառումը։ Համահայկական առումով աննախընթաց իրադարձություն եղավ նահատակներու սրբատասումը ամենայն հայոց և գլիգոզույգ կաթողիկոսներուն կողմէ։ Մեր գաղութերներս տեղի ունեցան երկու հիմնական իրադարձություններ։ Առաջինը ամերիկյան կաթողիկե համայնքի կողմէ կազմակերպված կրոնական արարողություններ բազմաթիվ օտար քաղաքական դեմքերու ներկայությամբ, իսկ երկրորդը Հոլիվուդեն դեպի թուրքական հյուպատոսարան երկարող ավելի քան 100,000-նոց քայլարշավը։ Շուրջ 400-ին 450,000 հաշվող համայնքի յուրաքանչյուր 4 հոգիի մեկը մասնակցեցավ այս ցույցին քայլարշավին։ այս այն փաստն է, որ այս համայնքը դերն է իր տադին եւ գխոստանա պատասխանատվության մեջ բաժինը ստացնել հայտարարի աշխատանքներու իրականացման գծով։ Ահավասիկ իր պատասխանատվության գիտակից այս համայնքը 100-ամյակի իր աշխատանքներու մեջ Մոնտեբելոյի հայոց հուշարձանի մոտ համակարգային դարողությամբ կկատարի այս տարվա ցեղասպանության հիշատակման եզրափակիչ միջոցառումը։ Այս աշխատանքի պատասխանատվությունը ստացած է Լոս Անջելեսի հայոց ցեղասպանության միացյալ մարմինը, որ կհամախմբի շուրջ 50 կազմակերպություններ։ Այս միացյալ մարմնի անունով բարի կալուստ կբախտեմ ձեր բոլորին, շնորհակալություն։
We are honored to have with us today several political dignitaries and community organization leaders whom you will hear from shortly. At this time, I would like to invite the representative of the Honorable Consul, I would like to represent the Honorable Consul General of the Republic of Armenia, Mr. Sergei Sarkisov, to provide his commemorative remarks on behalf of the Republic of Armenia. Consul General.
Distinguished guests, dear compatriots, you know, Armenians have a special respect and attitude towards those who had gone. I think it is mostly because we've lost a great part of our nation 100 years ago. Several generations are living with this unsatisfied pain and hate. It is very difficult to overcome it, but we should. For several generations, recognition of genocide became a national idea, a national ideology, a goal. I think that a moment like this, the centennial, is a moment when, looking back and giving all our respect to those who had gone, we should begin to overcome our sorrow and hate and look forward. I wonder what would be the main national idea of Armenians all over the world when the genocide would be recognized. I would love to think that the national idea of all Armenians all over the world would be the development, economic development, cultural development, democratic development, prosperity of our homelands of Armenia and Artsakh. And I want to believe that the strong nation and Armenians are a very strong nation, would have a very strong country. God bless you all.
Thank you, Consul General. We are also honored today, and we would like to publicly acknowledge the presence of the Honorary Consul General of the Republic of Cyprus, the Honorable Mr. Andreas Kyprianidis. In 1975, the Republic of Cyprus was one of the first nations to recognize the Armenian genocide. Earlier this month, yes. Earlier this month, the Cypriot Parliament courageously passed a law making it a crime to deny the fact of the Armenian genocide. Thousands of Armenians are very proud to call Cyprus their home, as Armenians have done so for centuries. Mr. Kyprianidis, I'm sure everyone here will join me in saying we deeply mourn with all Greeks the murder of 900,000 Greeks at the hands of the Ottoman Turks. We also give our heartfelt thanks to you as the representative for the Great Republic of Cyprus for standing side by side with us in our common cause to seek justice for the atrocities suffered by our people. And we pray for the day that we again see a unified Cyprus under the single banner of your government. Now, it's a great honor for me to introduce a congressman that certainly needs no introduction for our community. Congressman Adam Schiff, you've done it all for us, and he is the first man to speak Armenian words in the halls of Congress. Please welcome Congressman Adam Schiff.
Thank you very much. Thank you, and I'll be very brief because I know I had the opportunity, and thank you for it, to speak with you yesterday. But I want to underscore just what an amazing experience yesterday was. To see 130,000 people gathered to commemorate the genocide here in Los Angeles, the second largest demonstration in the history of the city of Los Angeles. And we should recognize, too, that this was part of a broader demonstration and commemoration all across the country and indeed all across the world. It can be fairly said in this country that perhaps with the only exception of the work of the Near East Relief Agency almost 100 years ago, there has never been a greater level of participation by the American people in commemorating the events that claimed the lives of 1.5 million in the Armenian genocide. And that's an extraordinary accomplishment. It is also true, I think, that apart from those years in 1915 to 1923, when the New York Times recorded in its pages the effort to annihilate the Armenian race, that there has perhaps not been any time in the intervening 100 years where there has been greater attention devoted to the Armenian genocide in the newspaper, in the media, on TV, and elsewhere. And that is a remarkable thing, that here a century later, the memory of those events, the memory of those who were lost, is once again held so dear and so close and made so public. So while we are, during these commemorations, often given to despair over the lack of courage of our own government, and as I said yesterday in reading the President's statement, it would have been better had he said nothing at all. But as we tend to despair of the lack of courage, of the timidity, of the shameful cowardice in the face of Turkish threats and intimidation, as we tend to feel the despair from that lack of progress, yesterday should give us incredible hope and optimism. What this community has done around the world, what champions of human rights have done all around the world to bring attention to the loss of these 1.5 million souls, is just an extraordinary achievement. It has been said before that to forget those who were lost is as if they have died all over again. I don't know if that's true. I think perhaps it's worse. To forget those who've lost, it is perhaps as if they had never existed to begin with. That surely must be the worst of all. But you have demonstrated with your presence, with your ongoing memory of those who were lost, that these 1.5 million souls now canonized, they did exist. They lived important lives. They lived lives that we cherish. and we will always hold them close to our hearts. Thank you and God bless.
We have with us a very strong supporter of the Armenian Genocide Truth and Justice Resolution that's pending in the House of Representatives. She is the original co-sponsor of that resolution. She represents the 27th District of Congress, which is the area that encompasses Pasadena and the West San Gabriel Valley. And of course, Pasadena has a very large Armenian community that's been there for well over 100 years. I'd like to welcome, please join me in welcoming Congressman Judy Chu.
What an incredible 3 days it has been. On Wednesday, I participated in Washington, D.C. in the commemoration of the Armenian Genocide, where hundreds of people came across the nation to hear an unprecedented 30 senators and Congress members all coming together to say the genocide must be recognized. Yesterday, I participated in an incredible march of 130,000 people. You shook up the nation with your voice and you made history. And today, it is so powerful to see individuals all across Los Angeles coming to the San Gabriel Valley, to Montebello, for this important event. I am incredibly privileged to represent a large and vibrant Armenian American community in the San Gabriel Valley, especially in Pasadena, where I met someone nearly 1 year ago. I had the distinct honor of meeting and celebrating the 104th birthday of an Armenian genocide survivor, Joseph Bibo Manjikian. I was so moved by his words as he told me from his wheelchair about what he and his family experienced as 1.5 million people were murdered in the Armenian genocide. A few months later, I learned of his passing. I decided to memorialize this incredible individual by submitting his biography into the Congressional Record so that his story may live on. But he was a reminder of how frail and elderly these survivors and their children are. And it is for them that we must recognize the Armenian genocide for what it is, and we must recognize it now. And that's why I come here today to express my continuing support for official U.S. recognition of the Armenian genocide. Our mission is to remember. It is to remember not just because we mourn for the lives lost, we remember so that it cannot happen again. We need the facts to be known that 1.5 million Armenians died, not by accident, but by design. We threaten our future by denial. Explaining the genocide away or attributing it just to the cost of war makes it easier the next time a people is singled out or targeted for extinction. Now, I must thank you. It was because of you that I was invited over 25 years ago to my first Armenian commemoration right here. And that is how I learned about the Armenian genocide. It reminded me of my own family's experience with the Chinese Exclusion Act of 1882, considered one of the most discriminatory laws ever passed by the Congress against an ethnic group. It permanently split families apart, created a second-class citizenry who could not vote, and disenfranchised an entire community. I got a bill passed to formally acknowledge that these laws were wrong. And what I learned from that experience is that official recognition matters. When we acknowledge the pain suffered by any group based on nationality, ethnicity, or religion, we allow the healing process to begin. We stand with them to say, we recognize their pain. And that is why I am so disappointed that President Obama has once again refused to use the word genocide. If the Pope, Germany, and Austria can do it, why can't President Obama? But we will not stop our fight for justice, and that's why in Washington, D.C., I have been the co-sponsor of every bill calling for recognition of the genocide, including joining in House Resolution 154, which calls for the president to have Turkey recognize the genocide. We have a moral duty to recognize the Armenian genocide and remind the world that crimes against humanity and destruction will not be ignored no matter when or where it occurred. As we fight for truth and justice 100 years after the genocide, I stand shoulder to shoulder with the Armenian American community. Now, your cause is my cause. And I will continue to push this resolution forward until the United States of America unequivocally stands on the side of history. Thank you very much.
I would like to now invite Congressman Linda Sanchez of the 38th District of Congress, which includes Montebello and other areas of the San Gabriel Valley. Thank you, Congressman Sanchez. Please join us.
Good afternoon, and thank you so much for inviting me to be here today to share this day with you. I'd like to thank the United Armenian Council of Los Angeles for including me in today's commemoration. The Armenian genocide is a dark period in our world's history. Every day, but principally on the 100th anniversary, we are morally obligated to never forget. We're called to learn from history and ensure that nothing like this ever happens again. We do this in honor of the millions who died and suffered at the hands of cruelty and justice. It's a stark reminder that we are obligated to protect all oppressed, vulnerable, and subjugated people around the world. We can't undo the atrocities of the past, as painful as they are, but as we honor the Armenian lives that were unjustly taken through our remembrance, we can be inspired by the extraordinary courage and the great resiliency of the Armenian people. Today, let us honor the grandmothers and grandfathers, aunts and uncles who escaped and displayed an unimaginable courage to start a new life here in America and elsewhere. They risked their lives to give their families and their future generations a better life away from the tragedy and pain that they experienced. I'm deeply, deeply grieved that some still refuse to acknowledge the atrocities that occurred in 1915. Their denial is shameful and it's disrespectful to the 1.5 million Armenians who died and to those who risked their lives to escape the violence. As Pope Francis recently noted, concealing or denying evil is like allowing a wound to keep bleeding without bandaging it. Keep fighting for the recognition of this genocide. Don't let anyone define what your experience has been. Along with my outstanding colleagues, two of whom are here today, Adam Schiff and Judy Chu, I've worked hard and I will continue to work hard in Congress to push our leaders to acknowledge the depravity of the Armenian genocide. Until we finally acknowledge this dark period in history, I want you to know that I will always work hard to make sure that this will be documented in the United States record. Again, I join with you in expressing my sympathy to all the descendants of the genocide victims. I hope that by reflecting on this solemn day, we may find the strength to continue the quest to hold those responsible to account for their actions. Thank you very much.
Congressman Sanchez, we applaud you for your work as the Democratic Hispanic Caucus leader in Congress. Today's commemoration services are being televised live by ITN and AABC television. We thank you for covering this commemoration as a live broadcast. Our next guest is the first Armenian to be elected to the City Council of Los Angeles. Councilman Krikorian, yesterday, so many of us here today heard your impassioned words at the end of the March for Justice. I would like to say, yes, Khachadur and Sera Nahigyan are very proud of you. We are all very proud of you for providing moral and compassionate leadership for the Armenian community and for all Angelinos. Abris, Marskit Dadar.
Good afternoon, everyone. We're gathered, it's a great privilege to be gathered here again today, not only on this centennial commemoration of our genocide, but on the 50th anniversary of the construction of this revered monument, the first monument to the Armenian genocide in the United States of America. And I grew up in Los Angeles, and when this monument was built, I was a young child. And as I was growing up here, I can tell you, no one spoke outside of our community. No one spoke about the Armenian genocide. When I would tell people that I was Armenian, my friends, most didn't even know that that was a real thing. They didn't know that there was such a place. They had never heard of our culture. They had certainly never heard of our genocide. But a few visionary leaders in our community thought that it was time that we educate. And so they came to the Montebello City Council and had the plan to build this monument. And took the steps necessary to bring this monument to all of us. And my friend Oshin Keshishin was just telling me this morning that when those visionary leaders had that idea to come forward with this monument, this will come as no surprise to anyone in this gathering, I'm sure, but they were threatened by Turks. We're used to being threatened by Turks. In the Montebello City Council that day, when they came for approval of this proposal, a Turk appeared to give comment and said, "If you build it, we will blow it up." 50 years later, this monument still stands. So it's a message that should not be lost on President Obama or the leaders in Congress or anyone else. We've heard Turkish threats before. But think of what's happened in those 50 years that have ensued. At a time, as I say, when people weren't really talking about the Armenian genocide, this monument was built. First, we remembered. Then we organized. Then we educated. And yesterday, we shook Los Angeles. Yesterday, the sounds of the feet of 100,000 people shook Los Angeles as much as any earthquake ever has. And people around the world noticed. People around the world saw what we did. People around the world joined with us in our cause, and it became their cause as well. And I hope you'll all agree with me that I feel as though this year has been different than all other years. This year, I feel that the world has joined us in a way they haven't before. We've always had great friends here, great friends like Adam Schiff and Judy Chu and Linda Sanchez and others in elected office who've come and joined with us on April 24th, and that friendship means the world to us. But even more important than that political friendship is the fact that the world has taken this cause into their soul as their own. We saw it at our cathedral. We saw it in the Vatican. We've seen it in the editorial pages of newspapers around the world. This cause has become not an Armenian cause, but a universal cause of human rights and of justice that all joined with us. And the reason they join with us is, first of all, because we've explained it, and we've educated, and we've taught them. And so now, when people when they see films of the trains carrying the victims of the Holocaust into Auschwitz, when they see that, they hear the echoes of the boxcars of trains carrying people to Derzor. When they hear of the horrors of the Rwandan genocide and people dying by the hundreds of thousands by machete attacks, they hear the echoes of Turkish swords and bayonets killing our people. When people even today see the deaths of the victims of the genocide in Sudan that is occurring as we're sitting here today, they hear the echoes of the voices of the people who died in the deserts of Syria during the Armenian genocide. And people throughout the world see the chain of inhumanity to man that began even before our genocide, found its biggest manifestation in the first genocide of the 20th century, and the impunity that came from that. The lack of accountability, the lack of justice that happened after that genocide and that continues now has shaped the darkest moments of the 20th century and continues to shape what we face now today as a human family. That's why recognition matters so much. That's why acknowledgement and justice matters so much. But I don't know about you, but I'm tired of waiting for political figures to act. I'm tired of waiting for the right statement by the president. The president may be the most powerful person in the world, but he doesn't have the power to shape history. He doesn't have the power to shape our destiny. He doesn't have the power to shape what we know is true, because the truth persists. Presidents come and go. Members of Congress come and go. The truth persists. It is ours and it can't be changed. So I say, yesterday we marched, Armenians and non-Armenians alike. We marched But our march didn't end. Our march continues today and tomorrow and forever. Our march is one that celebrates our survival. It's one that remembers our martyrs, but it's also one that says in one clear voice, this community will not stand for genocide against anyone, anywhere it happens. This community stands up with the rest of the world and says, as one human family, we will never tolerate hatred and bigotry and genocide anywhere that it happens. Because if we make that commitment, then we know that what began with the Armenian genocide can end. But it can only end if we recognize and hold accountable the perpetrators and make sure that it never happens again. If we join together in that purpose, then we know that our struggle will have succeeded, and our march will continue, and the President and the Congress can catch up with us because we march forward. Thank you very much.
We're going to take a pause from the speeches and have a beautiful musical interlude now, and I'd like to tell you a little bit about it. If you were in Armenia in 1994, you know how difficult life was. Hardly any electricity, no fuel, no heat to keep you warm, and a lot of closed stores. My family and I saw it with our own eyes. You would think that in the midst of such challenges, a man's creative spirit would be extinguished. But not if you were the great Armenian composer Khachadur Avedissian. Through those difficult years, composer Avedissian, yes, he continued to write music. He continued his enormous contribution to human culture. Our maestro, Mikhail Avedissian, was a young man at that time. Today, from learning and watching his father, he carries on his father's passion and enthusiasm to continue the creative process here in the United States. Please listen now and join us as Maestro Mikhail Avedissian leads the Unified Armenian Society of Los Angeles and the California Youth Association of California Choirs. Thank you. Professor Maestro. Thank you, Maestro. Thank you, choir. Yanaliyah. We are privileged to have with us today from the great state of Illinois, Dr. Reverend Christine Chakoyan. Dr. Chakoyan is pastor and head of staff at First Presbyterian Church in Lake Forest, Illinois, one of the largest congregations in the Presbyterian Church of the United States to be led by a woman. She is a graduate of the University of Illinois, Yale Divinity School, and McCormick Theological Seminary. On June 20, 2014, she, along with Reverend Vartkes Kasuni, led an effort to have the Presbyterian Church of the United States adopt a resolution which recognized the Armenian genocide as the official doctrine of the 1.8 million member church. By the way, her great-great-grandfather, Avedis Minasyan, established a church and Protestant school in Sivas, Armenia. It is with great honor that I invite Dr. Chakoyan now to tell you more about this historic resolution and share her thoughts on this, the occasion of the 100th commemoration of the Armenian genocide. Dr. Chakoyan.
It is such a privilege to be with you today, such a privilege. My father, Henry Chakoyan, wanted us to assimilate. So you'll forgive me for not knowing Armenian. I'm proud to say that my daughter has learned Armenian at University of Chicago. So let me do my best with this greeting. Azvas orne says, Yev mer, nahadag nerun hishadaga. It is a great privilege to bring you greetings from the Presbyterian Church in the United States of America. Indeed, on June 20th last year, 600 delegates of the National Assembly of the Presbyterian Church USA unanimously adopted this resolution to support the designation of genocide for the deaths of 1.5 million Armenians. To call upon President Obama and the Congress of the United States of America to recognize the deaths of all of these and the expulsion of the Armenians from the Ottoman Empire, to talk of it as a genocide, and to communicate this resolution for that purpose to our elected officials. We honor the genocide. This resolution communicates this to all of our ecumenical delegates across the world as an official doctrine of the Presbyterian Church, and urges all denominations, all Christians, to recognize this genocide in honor of all of the Christians who died on those marches and in that heinous time. We encourage the U.S. to endorse the highest human rights standards for all agencies and actions of the U.S. government, including the protection of minority and subjugated populations from genocide and ethnic cleansing wherever it may happen. And we call upon all Presbyterian congregations around the country to honor April 24th as a sacred day of commemoration from this time forth. How did this happen? Why does this matter? It happened because a few of us Armenian Presbyterians made it happen, including Reverend Dr. Vartkes Kasuni, who is here today with me. Thank you, Dr. Kasuni. We reached out to all of our Odar friends and compatriots, all of them. We broadened the circle far beyond our Armenian friends. And I encourage all of us to continue to do that. This can no longer be an Armenian problem as the Turks wanted it to be. It is a human rights problem, and everyone should care. As long as this remains invisible, genocide will continue to happen again and again and again. I am absolutely thrilled that the Pope has spoken out and called this a genocide. Amen. And though it's not a competition, I am proud to say that the Presbyterians were the first to lead the way. But now it's time. Now it is time for every Christian people around the world to speak out to it too. Now they must speak. And finally, let this moment be much more for us than a memorial to the past. We honor our martyrs best when we use this sacred day honoring the past to recommit ourselves to the future that they died in order for us to have. It is their legacy to us. Let us not squander this precious time, but instead to vow to hold ourselves and our children and our children's children to the highest standard, to be a compassionate people, to be a moral people, to be a faithful people, to be an educated people, and above all, to be a united people. Let us not just honor them today, let us honor them for the rest of our lives.
Our next speaker is Dr. Jermaine McAlpin. Dr. McAlpin earned his PhD in political science from Brown University and specializes in transitional justice. Dr. McAlpin is a member of the Armenian Genocide Reparations Study Group, instituted in 2007 under the chairmanship of Dr. Henry Thurl. The study group's report was published just a few weeks ago and provides detailed scholarly analysis of the various approaches toward achieving reparations for the Armenian genocide from present-day Turkey. Dr. McAlpin will be the keynote speaker on this topic tomorrow evening at the City of Glendale AGCC Centennial Commemoration at the Alex Theater. Join me in welcoming Dr. Jermaine McAlpin to address us today. Dr. McAlpin.
Thank you very much. I bring you greetings from Jamaica. This day is filled with a lot of significance, and I think of the Christian symbolism. We've had a mixture of sun and clouds. The March for Justice will have a mixture of sun and clouds. But we will not rest until reparation is granted for the Armenian genocide. You see, when history is recorded, it must judge us fairly. And if we do nothing because we stay in silence, we as a people of the world would have failed. I stand here as a Jamaican. I stand here as a citizen of the world. I stand here as an Armenian. Injustice anywhere is injustice everywhere. We cannot rest until the Armenian genocide is not only given recognition, but it is paid for. Genocide incurs a debt. Armenians are owed a debt. The debt cannot be fulfilled until we recognize that this is a grave injustice. You see, when I went to Yerevan and I internalized the suffering, as a Christian I understood one thing and one thing only, that if one set of people suffer, the common humanity suffers. I believe reparation is not hush money, it's not to keep Armenians silent, it is what is required for them to be whole again. Reparation is resurrection. All those 1.5 million people who died, reparation is an opportunity to let them live again. We have to support reparation. The other significance of this monument as I came up is that it's on a hill. The road to justice sometimes requires us to go up a hill. But on the other side is where we're going. We're going down the hill. We're marching together as a common humanity for reparation. We are marching together as Jamaicans, as Armenians, as South Africans, as African Americans. The march for justice is universal. I study South Africa, and there is a very telling phrase, and it says, we do not have amnesia, we will not forget. We cannot forget. We cannot let the world forget 1915. We cannot let the world forget the suffering that not just 1.5 million, but every Armenian that exists today continues to suffer because of that denial. And so I say to you, together, let us not just gather here, but let us preach the doctrine of reparation. We are not asking, we are demanding. Justice requires that we advocate for reparations. The time for reparation is now. The day for salvation is today. The Armenian genocide is a debt we must as a world repay it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. McAlpin, for those encouraging words. We now have a very special presentation for you. I'm sure you've all heard sometimes people say, why are the Armenians remembering or commemorating something that happened 100 years ago? Well, we have here with us Yevnik Salibyan. She's a survivor. She's 101 years old. 100 years is right here. From Aintab, born in Aintab, she is a survivor. Let it not be said, that's why we're still remembering. It's because of her. She'd like to say a couple words to us.
I was born in 1914, January 14. I used to play in our yard, and our doors was knocked. And policeman came and told, tomorrow you are leaving, get ready. And my father used to run to a man, the mayor of the city, Mohammed, and tell him, and he kept us till the end, and we were safe there. But when the France left Aintab, we Armenians had to flee for our life. He told my father, till now I kept you safe. After this, you have to find a way to escape. So we got on our way in a 2 horses cart. We were going, then there was an old lady before me on the cart drawn by 2 horses, and she said, would you like to change your place with my place? I am not comfortable. So we stepped down and I went to her place and she came and sat in my place. After a while the horses got mad, up, over and down and hopping, and our car turned over. And that lady died instantly. Till now, the voice of the driver comes in my mind. He said, this old lady died because of this little girlie. I was 7 years old then. And we traveled, and our cart fell down. And that lady died, but I was hanged from this, and there is a scar here, a long scar. I was hanged through my right arm, and I say, who bound that rope over my thigh? I don't know. Till this day, I say it was an angel. And I was saved. I was thrown up and put in the car. And then we went to Kilis. They did something. After that, I was fainted. We came to Aleppo, and from Aleppo to Damascus, and I don't remember that I was fainted all the way. But today I am here because God kept me. God kept me alive. And to come and to see you, my Armenian people has aroused and has a big role in the world. God made us, created us to praise Him and to tell about Jesus Christ, who came and died on the cross for me. The other day, I was reading my Bible. I said, Jesus, why you suffered so much? You helped us, you showed us the way of heaven. How? Why did you suffer for me? He said, I love you. I love you. God loves us so much. And that's all. And have communion with God. We can have the Bible, read it, and praise the Lord. That will be very nice and very good. So I love you, my Armenian people. You're so, I love you. That's all I can do. What shall I say? God bless you and make you blessing. You can be a blessing when you accept Jesus in your heart. He says, I stand at the door of your heart and knock, knock, knock. If you open your heart, I will come in and make you blessing to others, and you will be blessed. May God bless you all, keep you all in His hands, and make you blessing. My Armenian people, come to God, come to Jesus. He says, come unto me, come unto me, come unto me.
Դիգինյևնիկ շատ շնորհակալ ենք, երկար կյանք մաղթենք ձեզ. So articulate, thank you. Now, today, the United Armenian Council wishes to show our deep gratitude and thanks to the leaders of our community who had the vision to create this place where we as a community can gather, unified as one, and remember our martyrs, a place where we can renew our collective commitment to seek and obtain justice for what Theodore Roosevelt, our president, called the greatest crime of the war. We are most fortunate to have with us today in the audience, I'm here on stage, 11 of the 18 founding members of this Armenian Genocide Martyrs Monument. It is their vision that brought this all about. We have here, we have Oshin Keshishian, Harmik Hagopian, George Mandosian, Hagop Manjikian, Michael Minasian, Vasken Minasian, Varujan Mosesian, Hagop Nazarian, Krikor Ayvazian, Hagop, okay. Robert Arsharguni is representing Hagop and Marilyn Arsharguni. And Armen Hovanesian is representing his father, Richard Hovanesian. Vartan Fundukian is here. No. Am I missing anyone? H. Hrant Agbabian. And Misak Sevacherian's his son is here. Thank you for all being here. Please join me in thanking them for bringing the monument to 1968. Yes. We are going to present to each of them a candle that they are going to place at the monument. May I ask that Vartui Matosyan please see any one of the committee members. We would now like to continue with the program as those candles are placed at the monument. I would like to introduce Assemblyman Mike Gatto. Assemblyman Gatto introduced Joint Assembly Resolution number 32, which was passed by the California State Senate, recognizing and encouraging Artsakh's efforts to develop as a free and independent nation. Please join me in thanking Assemblyman Gatto and welcoming him to the podium.
This year, on April 24th in Yerevan, it rained. As a matter of fact, like so many past years, it poured. The heavens really dropped a lot of water on all the people commemorating the genocide in Yerevan. And like so many out there, people couldn't help noticing that this could be the martyrs crying. This is something that happens almost every year in Yerevan. And this year it was a very, very powerful outpouring. And it is with a little bit of sadness, as our keynote speaker noted today, and with partially cloudy skies, that we have a mixed bag of things before us today as well. We are so honored and so thankful that so many of us have come together this year, like we always do, to commemorate these horrific events and call them what they are. But we're also disappointed. We're disappointed that our president still has not chosen to use that word that he used when he was a senator. We are disappointed that the government in Ankara has not provided any modicum of justice. We are disappointed that so many people in Congress will not follow the lead of Congressman Schiff and call this genocide what it was. But we also are concerned. We are concerned because there are many places in the world where people who hate other people, who hate their fellow man, who hate the Armenian people, they are still getting solace from the fact that the world has not acknowledged what this is. We look to the events in Kesab and Damascus. We look to the events all over this country, in Baku, all over this world, where people want to do violence to peaceful people. And we look upon those with trepidation and disgust, and we know that this is a direct result of our government being too scared to call this what it was. This past year, I was proud to author AJR 32, which made California the biggest government in the world to call upon the world to recognize Artsakh and to recognize Artsakh itself. We wanted to send a very, very strong message that in California, the most populous state in the Union, that has 1/10 of the United States population, that has always stood up to be a beacon of freedom and a place where people from all over the world come to follow their dreams and to accomplish their dreams, that we were going to speak up for injustice anywhere in the world, and we were going to recognize Artsakh. In 100 years, mankind has come very far. You think about all the things we've done, all the accomplishments that we've been able to do. You think about that we've cured and eradicated many of the diseases that plagued the world in 1915, that you can now fly from Los Angeles to anywhere in the world in a matter of hours, that we've sent a rocket ship to the moon. But somehow, for some reason, the President of the United States does not know the meaning of the word genocide. Maybe we should all mail him a dictionary. Maybe tomorrow we should all go and mail him a dictionary. So as our keynote speaker noted, it's a mixture of emotions today. It's an overcast day, but the sun will come up on the horizon. The sun has always shone over the Armenian people. Turkey has not won. Turkey has failed. I want everybody here to say it. Turkey has failed. Turkey failed. Turkey failed. We are not going to let them win. We are not going to let them deny this for much longer. We are not going to let injustice happen anywhere in the world. We have to be mindful of whatever's going on, wherever there's an injustice, whether it's Kesab, whether it's in Baku, whether it's in Damascus, wherever there is an injustice to the Armenian people, we must fight. We must continue the fight. As long as I'm in office, that will happen in California. Thank you so much.
We would also like to acknowledge that Assembly Member Adrin Nazarian was to be here today, but due to unforeseen circumstances, he's unable to make it, but he was scheduled to appear before us today. Our next speaker is Mr. Levon Giragosyan. No cause can succeed without a staunch advocate to defend it. For our Armenian cause, our community has had the great fortune of having a relentless and zealous advocate successfully defending the rights of Armenians for decades. Please welcome to the podium Armenian Revolutionary Federation Committee member and attorney Levon Giragosyan.
Good afternoon. I was asked to speak close to the mic, so I'll do my best. I was a young boy when this monument was erected. I saw these gentlemen working hard, and I attended the city council meetings and was thrilled to see one victory, a victory that started then in 1968, when the city council of Montebello said, yes, we are going to build this monument. I'm proud of this monument because my father had a hand in having this monument built. My family had a hand. I'm a Montebello boy. But I would be remiss in not also mentioning that, like all movements, movements come from organization. It comes from the church. With the church's blessing, we moved forward. It comes from the political parties that we have that gave us direction, that led the people into establishing this monument. And it is the political parties that led those individuals who marched yesterday, the 130,000 strong. Let's not forget that. Let's respect what we have and honor it and try to strengthen it. It's always easy to talk about how there's failings, but I always say take the energy and direct it towards something positive. Your Eminence, Archbishop Hovnan Derderyan, Your Eminence, Musher Madirosyan, Your Eminence, Mikhail Muradyan, Reverend Joe Matosyan, I believe he was here, Reverend Fathers, representatives of our various organizations, and honored guests. I am the youngest son of a survivor from Erzurum. Yes, Erzurum caught the first brunt of the genocide. That's where the first attacks began. My poor father will never forget that. And I know I would hear it on a daily basis from him. He could not eat a meal without remembering what he saw. He was old enough to remember. He wrote his memoirs, I have them. So I can't think of any better evidence than his oral testimony that the Zoryan Institute gave, his oral testimony to me, and his written memoirs of what he saw during that period of time. I never saw my grandparents. I never saw my grandfathers at all. They had been murdered in the genocide. Yesterday, on April 24th, 2015, was a historical day in Los Angeles. But I beg to differ with you, Paul. It was the largest demonstration because I walked in the streets of Wilshire Boulevard in the anti-Vietnam War demonstration, and it wasn't 130,000. I know because I was there as an AYF member, marching against the war. And so it was the largest that Los Angeles has ever seen. And what were they chanting? I want to hear the chants again. They were chanting, what do we want? And when do we want it? Now. That was the chant that was going through the streets of Wilshire Boulevard, reflecting off the walls there of the buildings, and it was heard throughout the world. The chants went so loud and were heard so deeply that it went as far as Washington, D.C. And the people chanted something else then for the great person sitting in the White House to hear. And that chant was, shame on Obama. Shame on Obama. And the chant went further. It went as far as Ankara. And that chant was, shame on Turkey. Turkey is guilty of genocide. That's what was the chant. Ladies and gentlemen, we should always remember that we are only strong as we are united. Where there is unity, there is always victory. And to President Obama, I hope you can hear this. How easily you forgot your promise. A gentleman's word is his bond. Unfortunately, I think he lost his moral compass when he took his oath of office. After every major newspaper, you can't imagine that the stars would be lined up so well for him now to say, I have to do this. New York Times, Washington Post, Los Angeles Times, Chicago Tribune. What else was left? That holy man sitting in the Vatican, even the Pope, he had his way, he had his ability to stand up and recognize the genocide for what it is. And instead, he wrote a statement. He wrote a statement, and that statement, ladies and gentlemen, I am embarrassed about it, because it was a statement that didn't even use the word Turkish. It's a very long statement. It didn't use the word Turkish, and it didn't use the word genocide. So if you just descended from the moon and read that statement, you really wouldn't know what he was talking about. And no idea. And I don't think he knew what he was talking about, because someone else probably wrote that for him. We really don't need meaningless sympathies and comments from him. In the eyes of the world, he has sided with a duplicitous megalomaniac, the chief denier, Recep Erdogan. He is the president of the Republic of Turkey, and he stands with one other president, the President of the United States. Two deniers. What company my president, I, as a veteran of the United States Army, 101st Airborne, I was committed and ready to fight for my country. I served at Checkpoint Charlie on the front. And I am embarrassed that the United States would isolate itself in this fashion and be found with someone like Recep Erdogan as the person that he keeps company with. While Çavuşoğlu was down the street meeting with Secretary of State Kerry, they were probably bartering things with each other, while at the same time members of the National Security Council were telling members of the Armenian National Committee and our community that, sorry, it's not going to happen. I wonder what was being discussed with Kerry and Çavuşoğlu, the foreign minister. I tell you what, I'm in my mind, there was probably things that the United States got from Turkey. Look, we're not going to put this on the table. We're going to do you another favor, but you've got to give us something back. I suspect that, but of course we have no facts with that. On the doors of the National Cathedral, there will be an unwritten sign in bold letters, which says, genocide deniers are not welcome. Even though I know that President Obama will not come to that ceremony, but he is not welcome if he does try to. Ladies and gentlemen, we have gathered here to commemorate the 100th anniversary of the genocide of the Armenian people perpetrated by the Ottoman Turkish government. I want to thank all of those who participated in our vigil on the 23rd. That evening, we celebrated and remembered the sainthood of our martyrs, the canonization of our martyrs bestowed upon them by the two Catholicoses. Also, I want to thank those who organized and participated in the March for Justice on the 24th. It was overwhelming. I believe that the organization of that and how it was done, I think the organizers really deserve another round of applause. I think, well, one of them's here, or was here. Both are here. Talin Yakubian and Garo Ghazarian. And what was the message to the Turkish government? Very loud and clear. That they failed in trying to deny the truth. They failed in trying to eliminate the Armenian people. We remember and we demand for justice. After 400 years of humiliation, abuse and deprivation, the Armenian people found their voice, and it was not with a whisper. As citizens of the Ottoman Turkish Empire, Armenians proclaimed their rights, and the response from the Ottoman Turkish government was pillaging, rape, murder, and finally genocide. The clock of history has shown that the Armenian people have suffered 100 years of delay from the date of the genocide. We are here to say that we shall continue our struggle, we shall continue our fight, we shall prevail. Today, we as a united group do not hesitate to call our movement an army. You are the army. It is an army of 600 that went to Sacramento on Monday to demand for justice. It is an army of 130,000 Armenians and supporters that marched for justice to the Turkish consulate on April 24th. And there was an army of millions who demonstrated throughout the world yesterday. However, this army is a special army, an army with no supplies but its sincerity, an army with no uniforms but its determination, an army with no arsenals except its faith in God and its courage, an army with no currency but its belief in justice. That's the army we have, and as long as we believe in those things, we will succeed. Ladies and gentlemen, these columns that stretch up to the heavens from this hilltop whereon we stand bears witness to all who behold it, that the descendants of the survivors of the Armenian genocide shall never forget, for while this structure shall stand and endure, it shall be a steadfast reminder to all of mankind that the demand for justice for the victims of the Armenian genocide remains unanswered. But we refuse to accept this. We believe that the scales of justice are not unbalanced. We refuse to accept that the historical archives throughout the world are not sufficient proof of our case. And so we continue our struggle until we open the doors of the court of justice and attain what lawfully belongs to the Armenian people. The Turkish government's policy of denial of genocide is intended to delay paying for its criminal act. Turkey wrongly believes that the crime it committed at the dawn of the 20th century will soon be faded into the past when death robs us of the last survivors of the Armenian genocide. We are here to proclaim to Turkey that it failed. They underestimated the resolve of the Armenian people. Yes, they failed. They failed to account for the 1 million Armenians who demonstrated yesterday. They failed in misjudging the moral values of the international community. Turkey failed in the court of public opinion. The tide has changed toward the Armenian people and its cause, and it's a just cause. Ladies and gentlemen, time has come for us to unite together to push for divestment. I want a plan of action. That's what I'm going to suggest today. Divestment, we take millions away from Turkey. We should all unite for that. Armenian university students have already started that. At UCLA, they passed the resolution, and the Congress of that university accepted that. We want to go further. We want the state of California to divest all investments with Turkey. We want the county, I see Ms. Solis is here, we want the county of Los Angeles to divest everything that it deals with investments in Turkey. The ANC spearheaded this, and the ANC will continue its fight. Furthermore, Dick Gephardt, he's been to my office numerous times when he was running for various positions, even when he ran for president. Came to me, asked me for support, asked me for money. For him to join a lobbying firm that distorts the truth all for a few pennies, shame on him. But we were successful in taking the contracts away from him in Los Angeles with the help of our great city council member, Paul Krikorian, of a great mayor, Garcetti. We took that contract, and that contract was revoked. We want to do that in every city. We're going to destroy all those who distort the history. We're going to do that as much as we can. The third thing that we want to do, I want to have one congressional office. I want to target one, and each one every year, and put all our energy, take the 130,000 marchers, get everyone's dollar put together, and have that person defeated. We are going to defeat every single person who's in Congress who works against the Armenian cause. And when we defeat one, maybe we'll scare the rest. That's what action is. And finally, my colleague sitting next to Nora Hovsepian, we want to and we will begin our legal institute, our legal action. We're going to sue the Turks, which they won't know which way to turn. Every single lawyer that we could find that is ready and able to file a lawsuit against Turkey, we're going to do that. Every single person will lose 80% of it, but 20% if we succeed, I'll get my 40 acres and my mule back. That's mine. It's my property. It's my father's land. I'm going to get it back. Okay? And finally, I know the road is going to be thorny. I know we're going to fight various fights, but I think that we as a people believe in what is right and what is just. And we've always fought for that, and we will sacrifice if we need to do that. There's nothing stopping us now because we have taken a covenant. We have taken an oath with our martyrs, to our martyrs, that we shall continue until we reach victory. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Levon. Recently, the City of Carson City Council was considering whether to erect a monument dedicated to the murderous Ataturk. Our next guest was only one of 5 among 300 permitted to address the council on behalf of those who opposed the monument. His strong, eloquent, and very persuasive arguments played an important role in defeating the project. Please join me as we welcome the mayor of the great city of Montebello, Jack Hajinyan.
Well, after sitting and standing here for 2 hours, welcome to Montebello. For the record, let me tell you all that this is, for the record, this is the first and largest monument in the world outside of the Republic of Armenia. I'm still a little numb from yesterday's march. Most of you who participated, your legs are numb, but my mind is numb. I am still overwhelmed by 130,000 people who marched. Yesterday, I'll call him President O blah blah, failed to hold true to his promise of recognizing the genocide. And I've made a point in the city of Montebello to educate my community, whether Armenian or not, that once upon a time there was a man named Senator Barack Obama who very confidently referred to the event of 1915 as an Armenian genocide. But shortly after, in April of '09, he came down with an illness, and they call that amnesia. That's okay, because President O blah blah did not discourage 130,000 people from taking to the streets and getting the message across. I want to thank Councilman Paul Krikorian. If there's any day he showed that he's a quality Armenian American, it was yesterday. Thank you. I want to publicly thank all the organizers of yesterday's event. The chairs, Talin Yakubian and Garo Ghazarian. I know what it's like to plan an event. And for the last few months, you must have been a terrible husband, wife, friend, cousin, father, everything. I know that because it required so much work. But I'm truly impressed by the turnout yesterday. I really am. And sometimes us Armenians, we will kind of add numbers, you know. We'll have a banquet of 500 and say there was 750 people there. But for the LA Times and every national network to report this as one of the largest public gatherings, that made me feel so good that I was just one of 130,000 people there yesterday. That was awesome. When I became the mayor, I decided to look into a couple things. And one of the things I did was I pulled the minutes from the city council meetings when they were discussing the idea of entertaining this monument in 1967. Some of you are here, obviously, those who are responsible for this monument. Thank you for your great work, by the way, visionaries. So I pulled the minutes and I went through them. And of course, there was a significant amount of opposition to have the city council entertain this monument. Obviously, you had people from the Turkish government denying the genocide, but this one Turk, his comments stuck with me as I flipped through the minutes of these pages. And he asked the city council, I know you're probably gonna vote to approve this monument, but please don't let the Armenians put the plaque that they have proposed to put up there. He said, how do I explain to my child what happened if he reads those words? Well, I wish I could sit down with that individual and tell him, how do you think we all feel on a daily basis? That the story of our family, our parents, our grandparents, our great-grandparents, that their story is denied. I walked here every year with my grandfather. I live on that hill back over there, and I walked here with him every year, and not a word, just tears. And he cried. I've decided that today starts another chapter in our struggle for justice. From today on, I'm gonna thank Turks for misjudging my grandfather as a young boy rather than a young adult. Because that man, despite what he went through, he survived. He came to America in 1949. And in 1957, he lived the American dream here in Montebello. He bought a home. And on the centennial, his grandson became the first Armenian-American mayor of Montebello. In January, Mayor Zara Sinanyan and I were honored with an invitation to the White House. We were two of 220 mayors across the United States, and we were in the White House with the president. And Zara and I, it was such a surreal moment to be in the White House with the president, but we kept coaching each other. How are we going to do this? How are we going to do this? Zara, are you going to ask? Zara, Jack, you going to ask? Okay, one of us ask, one of us record this. And you know, we missed our opportunity. It was a very limited amount of time for Q&A with the president. But that was a reminder of how being an Armenian is a full-time job. Okay? You never turn that switch off. You don't clock in and clock out. You're a full-time Armenian. On Tuesday, when the representative of Turkey, Kovazoglu, talks about the word genocide being a legal term, it's a big word. It's a big word. He's arguing whether or not what happened to our people merits titling that a genocide. Who does this guy think he is? You know who he is? He's just another Turk running from their history. That's who he is. So we will continue to put the pressure on Turkey. We will continue to demonstrate. We will continue to walk the streets and march for justice. We will continue to educate people about what happened. The denial, the Turkish campaign of denial is on overdrive. It was just here in Carson a month ago where the Turkish government proposed a gift of $150,000 to erect a monument of this wonderful world leader named Mustafa Kemal Atatürk. Yeah. Who is right? And the sad thing was that the mayor of Carson at the time was a history teacher. You'd think he would know what he was talking about. And he's trying to tell us that, well, he's a historical figure. Yeah, well, so was Adolf Hitler. So was the man who assassinated Abraham Lincoln. But you don't glorify these people. The Turks have failed miserably, and it's happening every day, from divesting money to people calling on representatives from different countries. It's happening. It's going to happen. Stay confident. Reach out to people. Continue what you do. We will succeed. Thank you.
We're in the midst of a severe drought in California, but hopefully the rain won't start for a little bit more. We're maybe 15 or 20 minutes, please. Anyway, our next guest is the first elected official in the history of the United States who was born in Armenia. With integrity and the highest levels of professionalism, he leads a city whose population boasts 1/3 of its citizens of Armenian descent. As a Glendale resident, I feel great pride in welcoming my fellow brother from the Armenian Bar Association, the mayor of Glendale, California, Zare Sinanyan.
Good afternoon, dear friends. I'm going to take a moment and acknowledge an elected official that, for strange reason, never gets acknowledgement, and we had a conversation a few weeks back, so I want to make sure this is not one of those occasions. Superior Court Judge Zaven Sinanyan, I saw him up there a few minutes ago, but he's an elected official, so let's remember that he's always here at our events. The last month have been very special for the Armenian nation throughout the world, especially here in Southern California. We've had unprecedented amount of attention towards our historical past, towards the Armenian genocide worldwide, and I'm afraid of the emotions that we will be feeling when, in a few days, when the heat of the Armenian genocide movement, the centennial events come to a halt, at least slows down, and the world starts forgetting about the Armenian genocide. As the Armenian saying goes, tomorrow will come much sooner than we expect. It's a fact. We should emotionally engage ourselves for that and be prepared. And I don't think there's anything wrong with it, because life goes on. Many times we've stated that Turkey has failed. Many times we've stated that we're ready for struggle. We're ready to confront the enemy wherever he is. Here in Southern California, I believe the way to confront the enemy is to make sure that we're living a full life as United States citizens. Full life. Be obedient citizens. Be law-abiding. Get education. Have good jobs. Be productive members of society. But also, make sure that we are actively participating in the political processes. Now, yesterday we had 130,000 participants in the march for the recognition of the Armenian genocide in commemoration of the centennial. 130,000 people marching is quite impressive. I think we were all impressed. And I do want to again thank Paul Krikorian, Councilmember Paul Krikorian from the city of Glendale, also Mayor Eric Garcetti, and every council member that participated in making that march possible. Because you will agree that our community was extended the full protection and respect of the city of LA, and for that we're thankful. But tomorrow the question becomes, how do we keep the momentum going? How do we transform the 130,000 people that were willing to come and walk? There were people who were walking on crutches. There was a young lady, a teenager, with a broken leg, who walked the entire length of the march with crutches. There were elderly people. There were young kids. Everyone walked the entire distance. I think that's very impressive. But more than being impressive, it shows a certain commitment by our people and those non-Armenians that joined us on that march to participate in our just struggle. Well, how do we mobilize those numbers and transform that into a political reality where we're not begging for the president to ask for, to recognize the Armenian genocide, when we're not begging for Congress people to vote for Adam Schiff's genocide resolution. How do we create that reality? And the answer is simple. Thank God we live in the United States of America, a country where if you're living here legally, you can become a citizen, you can register to vote, and you need to go out and vote every time there's an election. The burden that's put on us as citizens to vote is minimal. In fact, if we can embrace the right to vote as a privilege and not as an obligation, I think we will reach that ultimate moment when the circumstances will dictate for the president to recognize the Armenian genocide, and we will not have to plead with him, whether it's this president or the next president or the president after that. So tomorrow, Monday is better, a working day, so it'll be easier to do it on Monday. On Monday is the first day when we should relaunch our efforts to register more voters. More voters. The goal should be 130,000 Armenian voters in the city of, in the greater area of Los Angeles. And that will be much more meaningful than us, to be frank, just marching. Because the march cannot be an end in of itself. Marching every year is not an end. The march is there in order for us to commemorate the victims of the Armenian genocide. But just marching itself will not accomplish the goal. So let's register to vote. Let's transform the numbers into actual votes. Let's support all those, not just Armenians, not just Armenian Americans, all those public officials who are genuinely devoted to serving the people of Los Angeles, of California, Armenian or not, but in our case in particular, who are willing to march with us, metaphorically and literally, the whole length of the long journey that we're taking right now towards the recognition of the Armenian genocide and the establishment of justice for our nation. Support them with votes, support them monetarily, support them psychologically, emotionally, whatever it takes, because people like Adam Schiff need our support. People like Mitch O'Farrell, who walked with us all the way yesterday, who was instrumental in opening the Armenian Genocide Square in Little Armenia. They need our vote, they need our support. We need Vartan Harpetians and Arne Harpetians and Jack Hajinians and Ardi Kasafians and of course Paul Krikorians and Aran Najarians in office. But in order for that to be a reality, in order for us to be able to go and talk to the city council of the city of Carson with some authority, we need elected officials that are willing to fight for justice, willing to fight for the Armenian cause. So thank you, and Monday is the first day of our next day of struggle. Thank you very much.
Following Armenia's declaration of independence, while the fledgling republic endured great hardships, our next speaker, Dr. Rafi Balyan, and his wife, Patty, spared no moment and moved to Armenia to offer their care and expertise in medicine to the Armenian people. It is my distinct honor to invite to the stage the member of the Executive Board of the Armenian Democratic Liberal Party, Dr. Rafi Balyan.
Շնոր, սրբազան հայրեր, ոգեշնոր և արժանավադիվ հոգևոր հայրեր, մեծարգո հյուրեր, տանգակին հայրենագիցներ։ Այսօր կհիշենք և կպահանջենք հայոց պատմության դաշնակույն օրերու հիշատակության վահ բգավրին այսօր, երբ ոգեգոչենք հայ ժողովրդի անմոռաց ցեղասպանության 100-րդ տարելիցը։ Տարելից, որ ամեն ապրիլ 24-ին հուքա մեզի ավելի լիցկավորելու, ավելի հայացնելու, վերանորոգելով մեր ուխտը, հավատարիմ զավակը գոչվելու Հայաստան մայր հայրենիքին։ Մայր հայրենիք, որքան անուշ է, անթե մայր է և թե հայր է մեզ համար։ Մեր արմատները հոն են, Հայաստանի հողին մեջ, Երևան թե Ստեփանագերտ, Վան կամ Սասուն, Գարս կամ Արդահան, Խարպերտ կամ Սեբաստիա, Ադանա կամ Մարաշ, հայրենիքը ամեն բան է վեր է, հողը անփոխարինելի է, անմեր միսն ու արյունն է, և մեր 4000 տարվան պատմության վգան։ Այո, մեր արմատները հոն են, և մենք Հայաստան գոչվող ձարին ջուղերուն վրայի ձիլու ձաղիգն ենք այսօր, որ այստեղ Միացյալ Նահանգներու մեջ գվայելենք ազատությունը խոսքի և խիղճի, ազատությունը հայորեն ապրելու, հիշելով 1915 սև թվականը։ Հայոց ցեղասպանության անկյունադարձային դարիմն է 2015-ը, որուն ընթացքին համահայկական գազམ་ագերբությամբ և համընդհանուր դարողությամբ աշխարհի 4 ծագերուն գնշվի և գիմաստավորվի մեր փյուրավոր 1.5 միլիոն մարտիրոսներու հիշադակը։ Անոնք 2 օր առաջ հատուկ հոգևոր և սրտահույզ արարողությամբ մեր եկեղեցվո սուրբերու գարքին տասվեցան Սուրբ Էջմիածինի մեջ։ Պատմական բացարիք բահեր գաբրինք այսօր։ Եվ ապրիլյան նահատակները սուրյական անապատին մեջ թե այլուր, իրենց կյանքը տալով դարձել էին նոր ղևոնդներ և նոր վարտալներ վասն հավատի և վասն հայրենյաց։ Ապրիլ 23-ին մենք ականատես եղանք ճշմարտության հաղթանակին։ Ապրիլ 24-ին մենք ականատես դարձանք բանջատիրական մեր ուժի հաղթանակին։ Այսօր նույն երթը կշարունակվի հոս Լոս Անջելեսի մեջ թե աշխարհի տարածքին։ Այսօր աշխարհ գարցականք է մեր արդարության ցայնին, Վատիկանի Ֆրանցիսկոս Քահանայապետեն մինչև Վլադիմիր Պուտին և Ֆրանսուଆ Հոլանդ, Եվրոպական խորհրդարանեն մինչև Ավստրիա, Գերմանիա, մինչև իսկ Թուրքիո մեջ հայեր, քյուրդեր և թուրքեր համարձակորեն խոսին ցեղասպանության մասին, հարգելով մեր նահատակներուն սուրբ հիշադակը։ Այստեղ հատկապես կուզենք շեշտել կարևորությունը Ֆրանցիսկոս Բաբի 2 շաբաթ առաջ Սուրբ պատարագի ընթացքին արտասանած ցեղասպանություն եզրին, որ ոչ միայն աշխարհի ավելի քան 1 միլիարդ կաթոլիկներուն ճանչնալ տվավ հայ ազգին հանդեպ կատարված անմարդկային ոճիրը, որպես 20-րդ դարու առաջին ցեղասպանություն, այլ նաև աստու սկսածման գոչ ուղեց Թուրքիո և աշխարհի դերություններուն և ղեկավարներուն։ Միացյալ Նահանգներու նախագահ բարոն Օբաման արդյոք ունգընտիր չեղավ Հռոմի Բաբի մարդկայնական և քրիստոնեավայել ելույթին։ Մյուս կողմէ գնահատելի են այազգի և օդար համաշխարհային ճանաչում ունեցող խումբ արվեստագետներու կատարած շանքերն ու դարած աշխատանքները, որոնք աշխարհով մեկ գործնականորեն իրենց ներդրումը կունենան դարածելու համար հայ ազգին արդար թադի իրողությունը։ Մեր երախտագիտությունը գերտա առաջին հերթին Շարլ Ազնավուրին և System of a Down խումբի դողոց։ Այո, 1915-ի թշնամ օրերեն անցած է թարմը ամբողջ, որուն ընթացքին հայ ազգը իր փեգորներու մեջ են հավատարիմ մնալով իր լեզվին, մշակույթին և քրիստոնեության, քյունիգի նման վերականգնեցավ միջին արևելքի գաղթօջախներու մեջ, ապա սփռվելով նաև համայն սփյուռքի տարածքին անկախ Հայաստանի և Արցախի մեջ, անհբարդությամբ հայացքը սևեռած բահեց Արարատին, հիշեցնելով Թուրքին եւ համայն աշխարհին, սրբազան լեր պիտի հասնենք կատարիտ։ Հայոց ցեղասպանության 100 տարի ետք այսօր հայ ժողովուրդի վրա են փոթապած է արդեն ցեղասպանության հոգեգան դարաբանքն ու ցավը։ Մյուս կողմը ան Թուրքիո եւ աշխարհի պետություններուն գոչ կնե ճանչնալու հայոց ցեղասպանությունը բանջարերը ըլլալով իր արդար իրավունքներուն Սիրելի հայրագիստեր 100 տարի հետո ժամանակն է այսուհետև համախմբվելու մեկ հայոց ցեղությամբ եւ ազգային միացիկ սլացքով հետապնդելու եւ հաղթական ավարտի բերելու հայ ժողովրդին արդար թադը հադուցման իրականացումով մեր բանջարության պայքարը երկար եւ արյունոտ ջամփուն տասկին արդեն նվաճած է կարևոր քայլը Արցախի ազատագրությամբ մենք նաեւ բարդինք աչալորչորեն հետևիլ Արցախի հարցով սպաղող կամ շահագրգռված պետություններու քայլերուն որբեսի արյունով նվաճված զոհ չերթակ երբետություններու խաղերուն եւ Թուրքիո ու Ադրբեջանի գերց դիվանագիտական սակարկություններուն Արցախի վերջնական ազատագրումը եւ ամոր գծումը ներկա Հայաստանին պիտի ըլլա գորիզը վաղվան ամբողջական Հայաստանին Թուրքիան այսօր կշարունակե ժխտել իր նախնիներու անողոք արարքը, ան շարունակելով ուրացման կստմնելի քաղաքականությունը գհերկե եւ գղեղադուրե պատմական իրողությունները իր սուդապարով արգազներով միջազգային հարթակին վրա անընդունելի խարխափումներ ստեղծելով այս բոլորը ներկա թուրք կառավարությունը մեղսագից կդարձնե իր նախնիներուն կատարած հանցագործություններուն Հայոց ցեղասպանության 100 տարելիցեն ետք հայասքի բաճադիրության դարին սկիզբ կառնե մեծ թափով եւ ուժականությամբ հետեւաբար հայ ասկը ներկա թուրք պետութենեն կբանջի պատասխանատվության ստանցնում եւ հադուցում հայ ասկը կբանջի պատմական Հայաստանի վերադարձը անոր օրինական դերերուն հայ ժողովրդին Հայտարարի կորզնական ծրագիրներու խղացումը եւ կորզատրումը պիտի թիմակրավեն շատ դժվարություններ եւ մարտահրավերներ, որոնք պետք է հաղթահարվին ամենայն վճռականությամբ, իսկ ներկայիս ամենեն աժմիական անհետաձգելի խնդիրը Հայաստանի եւ Սփյուռքի զորացումն է, տնտեսապես եւ փարոյապես մանավանդ մեր ազգային անվտանգության զորացումը որպես հիմք ի վիճակի ըլլալու համար ստանցումը գործադրությունը բանջարության եւ հայտարարի բոլոր ծրագիրներուն Սիրելի հայրենիներ այսօրվան մեր միասնական աշխատանքը երիտասարդ սերունդի դաստիարակությունն ու մասնակցությունը վաղվան մեր հաշողության եւ ամբողջական հաղթանակի գրավականն է Եվ այսօր մենք կհիշենք ու կպահանջենք եւ հետ այսու պիտի շարունակենք հիշել եւ պահանջել Այս է մեր ազգային վերանորոգված ուխտը հաջորդ 100 տարիներուն Սիրելի հայրենիներ հետեւյալ երեք կետերով կուզեմ փակել Առաջին Հիշենք մեր արմատները Երկրորդ համախմբվենք ազգային մեկ ծրագրի մեջ եւ շուրջ Երրորդ արթուն բահենք բանջարական ոգին նոր սերունդի մեջ որբեսի վաղը վայելենք արևահան բդուղները Հայաստան գոչվող մեր դողմածարին Գեցե հայ ժողովուրդը գեցե ազատ անկախ եւ միասյալ Հայաստանը
I'd like to call upon Bob Schoonover, President of the Service Employees International Union, the largest union in LA County that represents the employees of the Los Angeles County and City of LA. Mr. Schoonover, please.
Good afternoon. Congratulations on a great march yesterday. What do labor unions and Armenians have in common? We organize. I can start with one thing: commitment. My organization is built on commitment and correcting social injustices. I would say what I have learned about the Armenian community is since the genocide in 1915, they did not choose to survive, but thrive. What I have been taught by my Armenian members in SEIU 721, their commitment transforms to other issues, not just this genocide, which is very important to them as it is to all of you. They are committed to the labor movement and the union. They come to me and they say, Bob, what is it that you need us to do? They always want to be involved and committed. Now, you know, I would say that it goes without saying, all leaders of all countries, including the President of the United States, should say the word genocide and say it loudly and say it now. We all know about the crime that happened 100 years ago. There's been a crime that's committed every day after that. And that's the crime that the perpetrators, the Turkish government, have not acknowledged that this has happened and accepted responsibilities. And may I add, that's only for a start. Local 721 will always stand with you. We're committed to correcting all social injustices, and we're absolutely committed that the Turkish government take responsibility for what happened 100 years ago. Thank you.
Okay. Now, our final speaker, save the best for last. Former Secretary of Labor, Hilda Solis, and current County of LA Supervisor, Hilda Solis is joining us, and she has a special proclamation for us. Supervisor Solis, I don't know if you remember, I met you about 20 years ago at an Armenian bar event.
Thank you, and I'm pleased to be here and to see my elected official colleagues that are here, and of course the great, outstanding community, the Armenian community. While I am not Armenian, I am Latina, but I am also a fighter. And I have been with the Armenian community since the State Assembly in 1992, alongside with Adam Schiff in the Senate, to pass a resolution calling for the recognition of the genocide of the Armenian community. And I'm pleased now, as a board representative for the great county of Los Angeles, that on Tuesday there will be a motion on the floor to send a letter, 5-letter signature, to the president asking him to recognize the Armenian genocide. That will happen on Tuesday. I was so delighted to see the massive number of people yesterday. Probably well over 130, because they always underestimate the numbers. I know a little bit about that. But I will tell you that it was a strong message, and it is one that resonates throughout the world. And all we ask for is compassion and recognition of the martyrs, the 1.5 million people that were killed, that were exterminated. So today, on behalf of the County of Los Angeles, representing 10 million people, we praise you. We provide this recognition. United Armenian Council of Los Angeles, on the centennial of the first Holocaust of the 20th century, we solemnly commemorate the Armenian genocide, in which the Turkish Ottoman Empire murdered over 1.5 million Armenian men, women, and children. On this date, April 25th, 2015, by my office and the power of the County of Los Angeles. God bless you, and God bless the Armenian people. Thank you.
Thank you. And now our concluding remarks by City Clerk of Glendale, Ardi Kasakian.
G'nay, we're kidem shad diegar kanat's program pas khosnan or khoskes garchgalan. I know the program has been long, but I promise I'll be brief because I didn't really have any prepared remarks. I do want to recognize a couple of individuals that weren't recognized. Former Assembly Member Anthony Portantino, a good friend, who marched all 6 miles alongside us yesterday. Thank you. Imanunus Ardashes Kasakhyan, yes, Vera Brokne, Meds Tornignem, Gesaryayen, Yeb Smirnayen. I am the great-grandson of survivors of the Armenian genocide from Smyrna, from Gesaria, from a town called Ovaji. I just want us to remember today as we leave here, to ask a question, Oven Hayera, who are the Armenians? Who are the Armenians? The Armenians are those people that after they gave 1.5 million lives in the Armenian genocide, when it seemed that all was lost, they came together on the field of Sartarabad after the start of the genocide and drew a line in the sand and told the Turks, no more. You will not pass here. And all Armenians, regardless of political affiliation, regardless of what villages and towns they came from, after the genocide assembled to defend the Armenian nation under the leadership of Nazarbekyan. That is who we are. The Armenian people are also the nation that in the Second World War, in the fields all across Europe, 200,000 Armenian men and women went to fight and liberate Europe and the world from the fascist scourge and never returned home. As many Armenians died fighting in Europe as Americans, and because of that, the first division to enter Berlin to liberate it from the Nazis was the Tamanyan Tank Division, the Sasunsi Tavit Tank Division, led by General Naver Safaryan. That is who the Armenian people were. Armenia did not have 200,000 plus men to spare after the genocide, after its villages and towns in historic Armenia had been eradicated of them. That is who the Armenians are. That is whose blood runs through your veins. That is whose blood runs in our veins. We are not victims today. Today we rise from the ashes like the phoenix and remember that we have a strong legacy. So leave here today knowing who the Armenians are. We are a people that will never, ever shy away from a just cause, whether it is the Turkish government, whether it is the Nazis, whether it is the enemies in our own midst that tell us the truth is not the truth and the genocide did not happen. Thank you. God bless the United States of America. God bless Hayastan and Artsakh, and God bless every single one of you. Shana Galutun.
And now I call upon Arus Kazarian, Secretary of the UACLA, to introduce the closing prayer and the wreath-laying ceremony. Thank you.
Honorable guests, distinguished individuals, the Armenian Genocide Centennial Commemoration at the Armenian Genocide Martyrs Monument in Montebello, organized by United Armenian Council of LA, begin the wreath-laying ceremony, followed by requiem services by the clergy of the Armenian religious denominations. Close to 60 Armenian organizations consisting of all major political parties, religious denominations, cultural and leading charitable organizations were invited today to honor the memory of the victim. As I read your organization's names, please come forward and follow the scouts who will be carrying your wreath. We ask only 2 representatives from each organization to accompany the scouts. We invite Consul General of the Republic of Armenia, Sergei Sarkisov, to lay the first wreath at the Genocide Martyrs Monument. We invite His Eminence Archbishop Hovnan Derderian. We invite His Eminence Archbishop Moshe Mardirosyan from Western Prelacy of Armenian Apostolic Church of America. We invite Bishop Michael Muradian from the Armenian Catholic Eparchy. We invite Reverend Henrik Shanazarian or Joe Matosian from Armenian Evangelical Union of North America. Can someone... Due to the wet winds with the weather condition, we prefer to leave the flowers where they are. Just please walk to the monument to begin the religious ceremony. As we walk up, I will read the following organizations that were part of in USCLA organization. Western Diocese of the Armenian Church of North America, Western Prelacy of the Armenian Apostolic Church of America, Armenian Catholic Eparchy, Armenian Evangelical Church, Armenian Democratic Liberal Party, Armenian Revolutionary Federation, Armenian Assembly of America, Armenian National Committee of America, Armenian General Benevolent Union, Armenian Relief Society of Western USA, Hamazgayin, Armenian Educational and Cultural Society, Homenet Men, Armenian General Athletic Union, Armenian Youth Federation Western Region, Unified Young Armenians, Armenian Bar Association, Armenian Educational Foundation, Armenian Engineers and Scientists of America, Armenian Film Foundation, Armenian Monument Council, Armenian American Nurses Association, ARPA Institute, CSUN Armenian Program, HASC Armenian American Community Center, Knights of Vartan, SCIU Local 721 Armenian Caucus, United Armenian Fund, Armenian American Family Association, Armenian Society of Los Angeles, Armenian Youth Association of California, Organization of Istanbul Armenians, Friends of Armenia, Armenian Antapti Cultural Association, Armenian Compriatic Union of Urfa, Duruberan Compriatic Union, Dortyol Compriatic Union, Friends of New Julfa, General Society of Vaskuragan, Harper Cultural Association, Musaler Association of California, Shahasi Sport and Cultural Center, Ormia Armenian Society, Ararat Foundation, Armenian School Foundation, Davitia Mariamyan Educational Foundation, Research on Armenia, USC Armenian Alumni Association, Mashtot College, Armenian American Legion, Armenian American Council on Aging, Armenian Brigade Motorcycle Club, Armenian Heritage Foundation, Armenian Writers Association of California, U.S. Armenian Veterans Associations. Thank you.
Բոլորս ոտքի երգլենք, դերունական աղոթքով ավարտենք. We are going to conclude with the Lord's Prayer.
Օրհնյալ Տեր մեր Հիսուս Քրիստոս, ամեն։
Ամեն օրհնյալ եղելու իշնասն զրփող քույն երթայք խաղաղության եւ Տեր Հիսուսի ցեզ ընդամենեսյանად ամեն